Chugga chugga choo choo! Merry Christmas! I don't read Thomas's Christmas delivery. Here we go. Puff puff beep beep. Snowflakes were just starting to fall as Thomas climbed a steep hill. It was Christmas Eve and Thomas wanted to be back in the shed with his friends. The engine stockings were going to be on soon and Thomas didn't want to miss that. But Thomas was a really useful engine and he had 3 very important deliveries to make, and they could not wait. First was a freight car full of food to deliver to the community hall. All of the island of Sodor had been invited to come for a big celebration tomorrow, and there had to be enough food for everyone. When he arrived, there were many people around to help unload. Everyone was in a jolly mood, and the work went quickly. Suddenly, there was a shout. Mrs. Kinley had slipped on the snowy walk and dropped a bowl of cranberry sauce. She was not hurt. In fact, she looked very funny, covered in sticky red glue from head to toe. She left along with everyone else. When she was back on her feet, she walked over to Thomas and gave him a sticky pat. "Merry Christmas, Thomas," she said, and she went inside to clean up. "We're done," cried a workman. "Off with you, Thomas. You have a lot to do yet. Merry Christmas." "Peep, peep," whistled Thomas, and off he went into the gently falling snow. His next stop was to the big school on the hill. Some of the children were unable to go home for the holidays, and Thomas had many parcels to deliver so that they wouldn't feel lonely. The snow was coming down a little harder, but he still had plenty of time to get back to the engine shed and go to sleep before Father Christmas came. When Thomas pulled up near the entrance to the school, some of the teachers came out and helped to organize the unloading of the packages. The children were having a snowball fight. Splat! A red-haired boy in a green coat threw a large snowball that hit Thomas right in the side of his boiler. "Peep!" Thomas laughed. Everyone was helping to unload Thomas now, and he waited until the red-haired boy was standing right beside him. Thomas let out a blast of steam. Whoosh! The steam loosened the snow on Thomas's roof, which slid off and landed right on this red-haired boy's head. "You got me, Thomas," laughed the boy. Soon he was off again. His delivery was the most important of all. Thomas had presents to bring to the children's hospital in Vicarstown. All the children were counting on Thomas to make sure that their Christmas was a happy one. The snow was falling much faster now and it was starting to get deep into some places. Thomas had to go carefully so as not to get stuck. He kept telling himself, "The children are counting on me, and this will show Father Christmas what a really useful engine I am." Soon Thomas could see the lights of the hospital through the falling snow. As he pulled up, there were children at the windows cheering his arrival, while the doctors and nurses helped to unload all of the parcels. Sir Tubman had carried him out of the hospital and walked right up to Thomas. "Thomas," said Sir Tubman, "I have a very important job for you. There's a little boy with a broken leg who lives in the last house before the tunnel to Ballyhoo. It is snowing too hard for his mother to come to get this toy train. I need you to take this up to his house." "Of course, Pete Thomas. I am a really useful engine, but sir, my stomach wasn't hung before I left. Father Christmas will forgive me." "Nonsense, Thomas," said Sir Tubman. "Father Christmas will be as proud of you as I am." So Thomas headed off again, but now the wind was howling all around him, and there was so much snow blowing that it was very hard to see. Thomas, for once, wished he had his snowplow, as he moved slowly up to the track. Suddenly, the wind dropped and there was no more snow. He had missed the house altogether and pulled into the tunnel. He stopped and started rolling slowly backward until he could see the lights of the house next to Tom. Beep, 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 he whistled again and again, afraid he wouldn't be heard all over the wind. At last the boy's mother came hurrying from the house. Tally wrapped in the large in the scarf. Thomas could see the boy in the doorway, waving. "Thank you, Thomas," he cried. "You're my favorite engine." Then the boy and his mother went back inside and closed the door against the storm. Slowly, Thomas made his way home. He worried that Father Christmas might not be able to find the engine shed in the storm. When he finally got back to the shed, it was very late at night. The Christmas tree was still lit, and all of the engine stockings, including Thomas, hung in a row. Thomas was so tired that he was asleep in an instant. He dreamed that he had some presents in the stocking when the morning came. "Good morning, Thomas. Merry Christmas," peeped Percy. Thomas woke with a start. He looked down. There was his stocking, and there was a note sticking out of it. "Dear Thomas, thank you for being so kind and helpful. You are a really useful engine." The note wasn't signed, but Thomas thought he knew who it was from. Then looked at his stocking, and it was full to the top of the very thing he wanted most: coal. The end. I hope you like this book, because we got 4 more days of Christmas, because be sure you have a good Christmas. And always let Santa Claus chew the cookies you leave them. Merry Christmas.